Twins abandoned at birth, one white and one black. The shocking truth they uncover about their origins leaves scientists speechless. In the bustling city of Chicago, where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the streets buzzed with endless energy, two lives began in the most unusual of circumstances. On a crisp autumn morning in 1990, the staff at Mercy Hospital witnessed a sight that would haunt them for years to come. A set of twin girls, one with porcelain-white skin and the other with rich ebony tones, were left at the hospital's doorstep with nothing but a tattered blanket and a cryptic note. The note, scrawled in hurried handwriting, simply read, "Protect them. They are more precious than you know." No names, no explanation for their stark difference in appearance, and no clue as to who their parents might be. The twins, soon named Lily and Ebony by the nurses who cared for them, became instant celebrities in the hospital and eventually the talk of the entire city. As fate would have it, the girls were adopted by separate families. Lily found her home with the Andersons, a middle-class couple from the suburbs who had been trying to conceive for years. They cherished their fair-skinned daughter, showering her with love and opportunities. Ebony, on the other hand, was welcomed into the arms of the Johnsons, a working-class African-American family from the South Side, who saw in her a blessing they had long prayed for. Growing up in different parts of the city, Lily and Ebony led vastly different lives, unaware of each other's existence. Lily thrived in her suburban environment, excelling in school and developing a passion for science and technology. Her blonde hair and blue eyes made her the epitome of the all-American girl, opening doors and drawing admiration wherever she went. Ebony's journey was more challenging. Raised in a neighborhood plagued by poverty and crime, she learned to be tough and resilient from an early age. Her intelligence and determination shone through despite the obstacles, and she found solace and expression in music and art. Her rich brown eyes and coily hair became her crown, a symbol of pride and heritage. Both girls, however, felt an inexplicable void in their lives, a sense of incompleteness that neither could quite put into words. As they approached their 18th birthday, the universe seemed to conspire to bring their paths together, setting in motion a chain of events that would unravel the mystery of their origins and challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and the world around them. The day that changed everything started like any other for both Lily and Ebony. It was the summer before their senior year of high school, and both girls were preparing for the next chapter of their lives. Lily was volunteering at a local science camp, helping younger kids discover the wonders of biology and chemistry. Ebony was working part-time at a community center, teaching art classes to children from underprivileged backgrounds. That fateful morning, Lily woke up with an inexplicable urge to visit the hospital where she was born. She had always known she was adopted, but had never felt compelled to dig into her past until now. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, she convinced her best friend Sarah to accompany her on this impromptu adventure. Meanwhile, across town, Ebony was experiencing a similar pull. She had been having vivid dreams lately, filled with fragments of memories she couldn't quite grasp. In one recurring dream, she saw a face that looked remarkably like her own, but with features she didn't recognize. Driven by an overwhelming curiosity, she decided to skip her shift at the community center and head to Mercy Hospital, the place where her life began. As Lily and Sarah entered the hospital's main lobby, they were immediately struck by the controlled chaos of the bustling emergency room. Nurses rushed back and forth, their shoes squeaking on the polished floors. The antiseptic smell brought back faint memories for Lily, as if her infant self had somehow imprinted the scent in her mind. Across the room, Ebony stepped through the automatic doors, her heart pounding with anticipation. She scanned the area, not quite sure what she was looking for, but feeling that she would know it when she saw it. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, her eyes locked with Lily's. Time stood still as the two girls stared at each other, an inexplicable recognition passing between them. It was like looking into a mirror, yet not quite. Same height, same build, same shaped eyes, but where Lily was fair, Ebony was dark. Where Lily's hair fell in straight, golden sheets, Ebony's coiled in tight, ebony spirals. Sarah, noticing Lily's sudden stillness, followed her gaze and gasped audibly. "Lily," she whispered, "she looks just like you." The spell broken, both girls took hesitant steps towards each other, drawn by an invisible force neither could resist. As they came face to face, the rest of the world seemed to fade away. Lily reached out a trembling hand, and Ebony mirrored the action, their fingertips touching in a moment of electric connection. "Boo, who are you?" Lily managed to stammer, her voice barely above a whisper. Ebony, equally shaken, replied, "I'm Ebony Johnson. I was adopted from this hospital 18 years ago." Lily's eyes widened in shock. "I'm Lily Anderson. I was adopted from here too, 18 years ago." The implications of their encounter hit them both like a tidal wave. Could it be possible? Were they somehow connected? The questions swirled in their minds, too numerous and overwhelming to voice. A commotion near the nurse's station broke their trance. An elderly nurse, her hair streaked with gray and her face lined with years of service, had dropped a stack of files, scattering papers across the floor. As she bent to collect them, her eyes landed on Lily and Ebony, still standing hand in hand in the middle of the lobby. The nurse's face drained of color, and she stumbled backwards, clutching her chest. "It can't be," she murmured, loud enough for the girls to hear. "After all these years." Lily and Ebony exchanged a glance before rushing to help the distressed nurse. As they approached, the woman's eyes darted between them, filled with a mixture of wonder and fear. "You've come back," she said, her voice quavering. "Both of you, together." The girls helped the nurse to a nearby chair, their minds reeling from the implications of her words. As they settled her down, Ebony asked the question that was burning on both their lips. "Ma'am, do you know who we are?" The nurse nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "Oh, my dears," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I was there the day you were born, the day you were left here. I've carried your secret for 18 years, praying that someday you'd find your way back to each other." With those words, Lily and Ebony's worlds tilted on their axes. The mystery of their past, which had always lingered at the edges of their consciousness, now stood before them, demanding to be unraveled. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves, their families, and the world they lived in. The elderly nurse, whose name tag read Margaret, led Lily and Ebony to a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria. Her hands shook slightly as she placed 3 cups of steaming coffee on the table, more for something to do than out of any real desire to drink. "I've waited for this day for so long," Margaret began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But now that it's here, I hardly know where to start." Lily and Ebony exchanged glances, their minds still reeling from the shock of their encounter. It was Ebony who found her voice first. "Please, Margaret, we need to know everything." Margaret nodded, taking a deep breath. "It was a stormy night, much like something out of a movie. I was working the night shift when a woman burst through the emergency room doors. She was heavily pregnant, clearly in labor, and absolutely terrified." The girls leaned in, hanging on every word as Margaret continued. She refused to give her name or any information. All she would say was that she needed to protect her babies. We tried to calm her, but she was frantic, always looking over her shoulder as if expecting someone to come after her. "As soon as you two were born," Margaret said, her eyes misting with the memory, "it was clear you were special. Twins, yes, but with such drastically different appearances. The doctors were baffled." Lily interjected, her scientific mind whirring. "But that's genetically impossible, isn't it? For twins to have such different skin colors?" Margaret nodded. "That's what we all thought. But your mother, she said something about genetic manipulation, about you being part of some experiment. It didn't make any sense at the time." Ebony's hand found Lily's under the table, squeezing it tightly. "What happened to our mother?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Margaret's face fell. "That's the tragedy of it all. Shortly after you were born, she disappeared. Left you with nothing but that cryptic note. We searched for her, but it was as if she'd vanished into thin air." The revelation hit the girls like a physical blow. They had both grown up knowing they were adopted, but to learn the circumstances of their birth, to know that their mother had been in danger, that they might be the product of some mysterious experiment, it was almost too much to bear. "But why separate us?" Lily asked, her voice cracking. Why didn't you keep us together? Margaret's eyes filled with tears. That was the hardest decision we ever had to make. Your mother's last words to me were, keep them apart. It's the only way to keep them safe. We didn't understand, but we felt we had to honor her wishes. As the weight of Margaret's words settled over them, Lily and Ebony felt a mix of emotions: shock, anger, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of connection to each other and to the mother they never knew. There's more, Margaret said, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a worn, folded piece of paper. Your mother left this with me, made me promise to give it to you if you ever found each other. I've carried it with me every day for 18 years. With trembling hands, Lily took the paper, unfolding it carefully. As she and Ebony leaned in to read, they knew their lives would never be the same again. The truth of their origins lay before them, a truth that would set them on a path filled with danger, discovery, and the unbreakable bond of sisterhood. The letter, written in the same hurried scrawl as the note they'd been left with as infants, was brief but revelatory. My precious daughters, if you're reading this, you found each other, and for that, I am grateful. Your bond is your strength, but it's also what puts you in danger. You are the result of a classified genetic experiment conducted by a shadow organization within the government. They sought to create the perfect human, combining traits from different races to produce enhanced abilities. You, my beautiful girls, are living proof of their success and their greatest threat. I was a scientist on the project, but when I learned I was pregnant with you, I knew I had to protect you from those who would exploit you. They will never stop looking for you. Trust no one. The key to understanding your true nature lies in your DNA. Find Dr. Alexander Chen at Genomic Solutions. He was my colleague and friend. He can help you unlock your potential and expose the truth. I love you both more than life itself. Stay strong, stay together. Mom. Lily and Ebony sat in stunned silence, the weight of their mother's words settling over them like a heavy blanket. The revelation of their origins, the knowledge that they were part of some grand experiment, and the warning of danger lurking in the shadows, it was almost too much to process. Ebony was the first to break the silence, her voice tight with emotion. We have to find this, Dr. Chen. We need answers. Lily nodded, her analytical mind already racing. Genomic Solutions. I've heard of them. They're a cutting-edge biotech company on the outskirts of the city. The sisters looked at each other, an unspoken understanding passing between them. In that moment, they made a decision that would alter the course of their lives forever. They would pursue the truth, no matter the cost. We can't tell anyone about this, Lily said, her voice low. Not our parents, not our friends. If what Mom says is true, we could be putting them in danger. Ebony agreed, though the thought of keeping secrets from her loving adoptive family pained her. We'll need to come up with a cover story, something to explain why we're spending time together suddenly. As they hashed out the details of their plan, neither girl fully grasped the magnitude of the consequences that would follow their decision. They were stepping into a world of shadows and secrets, a world they were woefully unprepared for. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Lily and Ebony fabricated a story about meeting at a summer program and becoming fast friends. Their families, thrilled that their daughters had found such a close companion, didn't question the sudden friendship. Under the guise of working on a science project together, the girls began their investigation. They spent hours researching Genomic Solutions and Dr. Alexander Chen, piecing together fragments of information. Chen, they discovered, was a brilliant geneticist who had mysteriously disappeared from the scientific community 5 years ago. As they delved deeper, strange occurrences began to plague them. Lily noticed a black SUV parked outside her house on multiple occasions, always leaving when she tried to get a closer look. Ebony felt eyes on her wherever she went, a constant prickle at the back of her neck that left her on edge. Their search for answers led them to take risks they never would have considered before. Late one night, they broke into the local library to access restricted scientific journals, narrowly avoiding discovery by a security guard. They used their allowances to purchase burner phones, paranoia driving them to take every precaution. The consequences of their actions began to ripple outward. affecting their daily lives. Lily's grades started to slip as she poured all her energy into the search for truth. Ebony's art, once vibrant and expressive, took on a darker, more paranoid tone, raising concerns among her teachers. Their families noticed the changes too. Lily's parents worried about her newfound secretiveness, the dark circles under her eyes, and her sudden disinterest in the college applications she had once been so excited about. Ebony's mother caught her daughter staring out the window for hours, jumping at every unexpected sound. The stress of their double lives began to take its toll. Lily and Ebony found themselves snapping at their friends, pushing away those closest to them in an effort to protect their secret. The loneliness of their situation weighed heavily on them, tempered only by the growing bond between the sisters. As they pieced together the puzzle of their past, they also began to notice changes in themselves. Lily found she could process information at an astounding rate, her mind making connections faster than ever before. Ebony discovered a heightened sense of spatial awareness, able to navigate complex environments with ease. These newfound abilities both thrilled and terrified them. Were these the enhanced abilities their mother had mentioned? What else were they capable of? Their investigation finally led them to a breakthrough: the location of a secret genomic solutions facility where Dr. Chen had last been seen. With hearts pounding and palms sweating, Lily and Ebony made the decision to break in, knowing it could be their only chance to find the answers they sought. As they stood outside the nondescript building, the weight of their choices pressed down on them. They were no longer just two ordinary teenagers. They were potential superhumans, daughters of a fugitive scientist and targets of a shadowy government organization. The path they had chosen was dangerous, but there was no turning back now. With a shared look of determination, Lily and Ebony stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest for the truth. While Lily and Ebony delved deeper into the mystery of their origins, a secondary plot began to unfold, intertwining with their journey in unexpected ways. Detective Michael Reeves, a seasoned investigator with the Chicago Police Department, had been working on a series of mysterious disappearances. Over the past year, several scientists and researchers from various biotech companies had vanished without a trace. The cases seemed unrelated at first, but Reeves's instincts told him there was more to the story. As he dug deeper, he began to notice a pattern. All of the missing persons had connections to genetic research, and many had worked for or consulted with genomic solutions at some point in their careers. The company's name kept popping up, always on the periphery but never directly implicated. Reeves' investigation led him to Dr. Alexander Chen, whose disappearance 5 years ago now seemed to be the starting point of this strange series of events. As he delved into Chen's background, he stumbled upon an old case file that made his blood run cold: the mysterious abandonment of twin babies at Mercy Hospital 18 years ago. The detective couldn't shake the feeling that these events were somehow connected. His pursuit of the truth put him on a collision course with Lily and Ebony, though none of them realized it yet. Meanwhile, within the walls of Genomic Solutions, Dr. Eleanor Hartley was growing increasingly uneasy. As one of the lead researchers on the company's most classified projects, she had access to information that kept her awake at night. The disappearances hadn't gone unnoticed by her, and she feared she might be next. Dr. Hartley had worked alongside Dr. Chen years ago and had suspicions about the true nature of their research. The emergence of 2 teenage girls with unusual genetic markers in recent medical scans had set off alarm bells within the organization. She overheard hushed conversations about recovering assets and containing the situation. Torn between her loyalty to science and her moral compass, Dr. Hartley made a decision that would change everything. She began to secretly compile evidence of the company's illegal activities, including files on the genetic experiment that had resulted in Lily and Ebony's birth. As Lily and Ebony continued their search for answers, Detective Reeves followed leads that brought him ever closer to their path, and Dr. Hartley prepared to blow the whistle on Genomic Solutions. The 3 separate threads of their stories began to intertwine. The stage was set for a confluence of events that would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew. The truth was out there, hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. But powerful forces were at work to keep that truth buried, and the danger was growing with each passing day. As Lily and Ebony delved deeper into the mystery of their origins, their bond as sisters grew stronger with each passing day. Despite their vastly different upbringings, they found themselves finishing each other's sentences, sharing inside jokes, and developing an almost telepathic understanding of each other's thoughts and emotions. Their shared experiences of feeling out of place in their adoptive families, coupled with the excitement and danger of their current mission, created a connection between them that was unlike anything they had ever known. They spent long nights talking, sharing stories of their childhoods and marveling at the similarities and differences in their lives. Lily found herself drawn to Ebony's artistic nature and her ability to see beauty in the most unexpected places. She watched in awe as Ebony transformed their hastily scribbled notes into intricate mind maps, using color and imagery to connect the dots of their investigation in ways Lily's logical mind hadn't considered. Ebony, in turn, was impressed by Lily's analytical skills and her ability to process complex scientific information. She relied on Lily to break down the dense academic papers they uncovered, translating the jargon into understandable concepts that fueled their search for answers. As they worked together, they began to notice how their strengths complemented each other. Lily's caution balanced Ebony's impulsiveness, while Ebony's intuition often led them to breakthroughs when Lily's methodical approach hit dead ends. One night, as they pored over documents in Lily's bedroom, Ebony suddenly burst into laughter. Lily looked up, puzzled. "What's so funny?" Ebony grinned, shaking her head. "I was just thinking, isn't it crazy? A few weeks ago we didn't even know each other existed. And now I can't imagine my life without you in it." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. "I know exactly what you mean," she said softly. "It's like I found a piece of myself I never knew was missing." The moment was interrupted by a text message alert on Lily's phone. It was from her mom, asking when she'd be home for dinner. The sisters exchanged a guilty look, both acutely aware of the growing web of lies they were weaving to protect their secret. "We should tell them," Ebony said, voicing the thought that had been nagging at both of them. "Our parents, they deserve to know the truth." Lily sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I know. But how do we even begin to explain this, and what if it puts them in danger?" The weight of their secret hung heavy between them. They both knew that the longer they kept their families in the dark, the harder it would be to eventually tell the truth. But the fear of losing the only parents they'd ever known, of shattering the lives they'd built, was paralyzing. As the days passed, Lily and Ebony found themselves pulling away from their old lives. Friends noticed their absence, school counselors noted their dropping grades, and their families grew increasingly concerned about their changing behavior. The strain began to show in their relationship as well. Disagreements over how to proceed with their investigation, coupled with the stress of maintaining their double lives, led to heated arguments. But even in their worst moments, there was an underlying current of love and protection that neither had experienced before. One particularly tense evening, after a close call with a security guard at Genomic Solutions, Ebony broke down in tears. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I'm scared, Lily. What if we're in way over our heads?" Lily felt her own eyes well up as she pulled her sister into a tight embrace. "I know," she whispered. "I'm scared too. But we're in this together, okay? No matter what happens, we have each other now." As they held each other, both girls felt a shift in their relationship. They weren't just two teenagers on a dangerous quest for answers anymore. They were sisters, bound by blood and shared experience, facing an uncertain future together. The road ahead was fraught with danger and difficult choices, but Lily and Ebony knew that whatever challenges they faced, they would face them side by side. Their bond, forged in secrecy and strengthened by shared purpose, had become unbreakable. As they pulled apart and wiped away their tears, they shared a look of determination. Whatever the truth of their origins might be, they had found something precious in each other, a connection that no genetic experiment could explain and no shadowy organization could sever. The night of the break-in at Genomic Solutions arrived with a sense of foreboding. Lily and Ebony, dressed in dark clothing and armed with nothing but their wits and a set of lockpicks Ebony had procured through questionable means, approached the facility under the cover of darkness. Their hearts pounded in unison as they disabled the outer security cameras using a device Lily had constructed from spare electronics. With trembling hands, Ebony picked the lock on a side entrance, and they slipped inside, the weight of their decision pressing down on them. The sterile corridors of the facility were eerily quiet, their footsteps echoing despite their best efforts to move silently. They navigated through the maze-like structure, following the blueprints they had memorized, always alert for any sign of security. As they neared the central research lab, a noise from around the corner made them freeze. Pressing themselves against the wall, they held their breath as a night guard passed by, missing them by mere inches. Once the coast was clear, they exchanged a look of relief and pressed on. The research lab was a treasure trove of information. Computers hummed softly, and the air was thick with the scent of chemicals. Lily immediately set to work, hacking into the main database while Ebony kept watch. Suddenly, Ebony gasped. "Lily," she whispered urgently, "someone's coming." Before they could hide, the door swung open. To their shock, they found themselves face to face with Dr. Eleanor Hartley, the whistleblower who had been compiling evidence against Genomic Solutions. For a moment, all three stood frozen, sizing each other up. Then, to the girl's surprise, Dr. Hartley spoke. "You must be Lily and Ebony," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "I've been expecting you." Before they could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Hartley's eyes widened in fear. "We need to leave now. They know you're here." As they turned to flee, the sound of heavy footsteps and shouting voices filled the corridor. They were trapped. Dr. Hartley ushered them towards a hidden panel in the wall. "This leads to an emergency exit," she explained hurriedly. "Take this." She thrust a flash drive into Lily's hand. "It contains everything I've uncovered about the project that created you. Find Detective Michael Reeves. He can help you expose the truth." The panel slid open, revealing a narrow passageway. Ebony stepped in, but Lily hesitated. "What about you?" she asked Dr. Hartley. The scientist gave them a sad smile. "I'll hold them off. Go." With tears in their eyes, Lily and Ebony disappeared into the passageway just as the lab door burst open. They heard Dr. Hartley's defiant voice fade as they scrambled through the dark tunnel. They emerged into the cool night air, the sound of sirens piercing the silence. Without a word, they ran, their minds reeling from the night's events. They didn't stop until they reached a 24-hour diner several blocks away, collapsing into a booth, gasping for breath. As the adrenaline began to subside, the reality of what had just transpired hit them. They had the information they sought, but at what cost? Dr. Hartley's sacrifice weighed heavily on their consciences, and they knew that their actions had set in motion events that could not be undone. Lily pulled out the flash drive, staring at it as if it might explode. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ebony reached across the table, grasping her sister's hand. "We find Detective Reeves," she said with determination, "and we finish what we started." As dawn broke over the city, Lily and Ebony steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. The climactic events of the night had changed everything, and there was no going back. The truth was within their grasp, but the path to revealing it would be more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The following days were a blur of activity, as Lily and Ebony sought to make sense of the information contained in Dr. Hartley's flash drive. The data was a gold mine of classified documents, experimental results, and personal notes that painted a disturbing picture of the genetic manipulation program that had led to their birth. Armed with this knowledge, they decided it was time to bring their families into the loop. The revelations were met with shock, disbelief, and eventually, a fierce protectiveness from both sets of parents. The Andersons and Johnsons, once strangers, now found themselves united in their desire to protect their daughters. With their family's support, Lily and Ebony reached out to Detective Michael Reeves. Initially skeptical, the detective was quickly convinced by the mountain of evidence they presented. He realized that this case was connected to the disappearances he had been investigating, and together, they began to formulate a plan to expose the truth and bring those responsible to justice. Their first step was to arrange a meeting with key members of the press and select government officials who were not implicated in the documents. The sisters, along with Detective Reeves and their parents, prepared to go public with their story and the evidence they had gathered. The night before the scheduled press conference, Lily and Ebony sat in Ebony's room, surrounded by notes and documents. The weight of what they were about to do pressed heavily on them. "Are we doing the right thing?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with doubt. "What if going public puts more people in danger?" Ebony took her sister's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "We have to believe that the truth is worth fighting for. If we don't do this, who knows how many more lives could be ruined by these experiments?" Lily nodded, drawing strength from her sister's conviction. "You're right. We owe it to Dr. Hartley, to our birth mother, and to ourselves to see this through." As dawn broke, they made their way to the downtown convention center, where the press conference was to be held. Security was tight, with Detective Reeves having called in every favor he could to ensure their safety. The room was packed with journalists, cameras flashing as Lily and Ebony took their places at the podium. Detective Reeves stood beside them, a reassuring presence as they prepared to change their lives forever. Lily began, her voice shaky at first but growing stronger with each word. 18 years ago, 2 babies were left at Mercy Hospital. Those babies were my sister Ebony and myself. We are here today to reveal the truth about our origins and to expose a dangerous, illegal genetic experimentation program that has been operating in secret for decades. Ebony continued, her artist's eye capturing the room's rapt attention. "We are the product of a classified government project aimed at creating enhanced human beings. But we are not the only ones. Countless others have been subjected to these experiments, many without their knowledge or consent." As they laid out their story and the evidence they had gathered, the room erupted into a frenzy of questions and exclamations. Cameras clicked furiously, and reporters spoke rapidly into their microphones, broadcasting the sensational news to the world. Just as Detective Reeves stepped forward to detail the connection to the missing scientists, a commotion at the back of the room caught everyone's attention. A group of men in dark suits pushed their way through the crowd, their intentions clearly hostile. "We need to get you out of here," Detective Reeves muttered urgently, ushering Lily and Ebony towards a side exit. But before they could reach safety, one of the men pulled out a gun. Time seemed to slow as the weapon was raised, aimed directly at the sisters. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. Lily, her mind racing faster than ever before, calculated the trajectory of the bullet in a split second. Without conscious thought, she pushed Ebony out of the way with inhuman speed and precision. Simultaneously, Ebony's heightened spatial awareness allowed her to grab a heavy microphone stand and swing it with perfect accuracy, knocking the gun from the assailant's hand. The room erupted into chaos as security guards tackled the would-be assassins. In the confusion, Detective Reeves managed to get Lily and Ebony to a secure location. As they huddled together, shaken but unharmed, the reality of what they had just done, both in exposing the truth and in their instinctive defense, began to sink in. "Did you see what we just did?" Ebony whispered, awe and fear mingling in her voice. Lily nodded, her scientific mind already analyzing their actions. "Our abilities, they're more developed than we realized. This changes everything." Detective Reeves joined them, his face grave. "You've done it? The story is out there now, spreading faster than they can contain it. But this is just the beginning. They'll come after you with everything they have." Lily and Ebony exchanged a determined look. They had taken the first step towards resolving the conflict that had defined their existence, but they knew the road ahead would be fraught with danger. The truth was out, but the fight for justice and for understanding their own nature was far from over. As they prepared to face the storm that was surely coming, Lily and Ebony drew strength from each other and from the unbreakable bond they had forged. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. 2 extraordinary sisters against a world that was only beginning to understand the implications of their existence. In the days following the press conference, Lily and Ebony's world turned upside down. Their story dominated headlines across the globe, sparking intense debates about ethics in scientific research, government transparency, and the nature of humanity itself. As public outcry grew, governments and international organizations scrambled to respond. The sisters found themselves at the center of a media frenzy, their faces plastered across every news channel and social media platform. They were hailed as heroes by some and vilified as threats to national security by others. The pressure was immense, and they struggled to cope with their newfound notoriety. Amidst the chaos, a surprising ally emerged. Dr. Alexander Chen, the colleague their mother had mentioned in her letter, resurfaced after years in hiding. He reached out to Lily and Ebony through Detective Reeves, offering his help and protection. In a clandestine meeting arranged by Reeves, Dr. Chen revealed the full scope of the genetic program that had created them. "Your abilities are just the tip of the iceberg," he explained. "The potential locked within your DNA could revolutionize medicine, extend human lifespans, even allow us to adapt to environments we once thought uninhabitable." This revelation marked a turning point for Lily and Ebony. They realized that exposing the truth was only the first step. Now, they had a choice to make: continue to fight against those who would exploit them, or take control of their own narrative and use their unique abilities to benefit humanity. After much soul-searching and lengthy discussions with their families and Detective Reeves, the sisters made a decision that would set them on a new path. They would work with Dr. Chen to understand the full extent of their abilities and use that knowledge to advance medical research ethically and transparently. This decision marked a new direction in their journey. Instead of running from their past, they chose to embrace it and shape their future. It was a path fraught with challenges, but one that offered hope not just for themselves, but for all of humanity. As they prepared to embark on this new chapter, Lily and Ebony knew that their lives would never be the same. But for the first time since discovering the truth about their origins, they felt a sense of purpose and control over their destiny. As weeks turned into months, Lily and Ebony found themselves on an incredible journey of self-discovery and growth. Working closely with Dr. Chen in a secure facility provided by sympathetic government officials, they began to unlock the secrets hidden within their DNA. Lily, always the scientist, threw herself into understanding the genetic modifications that made them unique. She spent countless hours in the lab, analyzing data and running experiments. Her analytical skills, already impressive, reached new heights as she pushed the boundaries of current genetic research. One evening, as she pored over a particularly complex set of data, Lily had a breakthrough. She realized that the key to unlocking their full potential lay not just in their individual genetic makeup, but in the synergy between her and Ebony's complementary abilities. "It's like we're two halves of a whole," she explained excitedly to Ebony. "Separately, we're exceptional, but together we could achieve things previously thought impossible." Ebony, meanwhile, found her growth taking a different path. Her artistic talents evolved, allowing her to visualize complex genetic structures in ways that even the most advanced computer models couldn't match. She created intricate, three-dimensional representations of DNA sequences that helped researchers understand the implications of their work on a deeper level. But more than that, Ebony became the emotional cornerstone of their endeavor. Her intuition and empathy helped guide the ethical discussions that were a crucial part of their work. She never let them forget the human impact of their research, ensuring that every decision they made was grounded in compassion and responsibility. As they worked, both sisters reflected on how far they had come. Lily, once solely focused on empirical facts, learned to trust her instincts and embrace the inexplicable bond she shared with her sister. Ebony, who had always felt like an outsider, found strength in her uniqueness and learned to use her perspective to bridge gaps between different viewpoints. As they continued to push the boundaries of science and ethics, Lily and Ebony never forgot the core truth they had discovered, that the very qualities that set them apart were the source of their greatest strength. Their story served as a powerful reminder that embracing one's unique identity while finding connection with others can lead to transformative change, not just for individuals, but for all of humanity. One night, as they sat on the roof of their facility watching the stars, Ebony turned to Lily. "Do you ever wonder what Mom would think of us now?" she asked softly. Lily was quiet for a moment before responding. "I think she'd be proud. Not just of what we've accomplished, but of who we've become. We're not just subjects of an experiment anymore. We're using what makes us different to make a difference." Ebony nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "We've come a long way from those scared girls breaking into Genomic Solutions, haven't we?" "We sure have," Lily agreed. "But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. All of it, the fear, the uncertainty, the danger, it led us here. It made us who we are." As they sat in comfortable silence, both sisters felt a deep sense of gratitude. For each other, for the families that had raised them, for the twists of fate that had brought them together, and for the opportunity to use their unique gifts to shape the future. They knew that challenges still lay ahead. There were still those who feared what they represented, who would try to hinder their work or exploit their abilities. But they were no longer afraid. They had each other, they had a purpose, and they had grown into women capable of facing whatever the future might hold. As the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, Lily and Ebony stood together, ready to face a new day and the endless possibilities it held. They were no longer defined by their past, but by the future they were creating. A future they would shape together. In the years that followed, Lily and Ebony's work revolutionized the field of genetics and medicine. Their research led to breakthrough treatments for previously incurable diseases, and their ethical approach to genetic modification set new standards for the scientific community. But beyond their scientific achievements, the sisters' story became a symbol of hope and unity in a world often divided by differences. They stood as living proof that diversity, when embraced and understood, could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Lily, the once strictly logical scientist, learned to appreciate the power of intuition and emotional intelligence. Ebony, who had always felt like an outsider, discovered that her unique perspective was her greatest strength. Together, they embodied the idea that true progress comes not from conformity, but from the harmonious blend of diverse traits and viewpoints. Their journey reinforced the theme that family is not solely defined by blood, but by love, understanding, and shared experiences. The bond between Lily and Ebony, forged through adversity and strengthened by their shared purpose, became an inspiration to many.